See, I never say I mind. I want you guys to think a little bit on this. I never say I brain. I always say my mind or my brain. So there is this gap which is there between me as an observer and my mind. And most people, when I take a little survey, Dr. Ranjan, you'll be surprised. They say, oh, what is your scale from 0 to 10 of your mind's thinking? And they say it is beyond 10. It's always overthinking. It's always, beyond what is required or prescribed. So this mind and I am the observer of this particular mind, and this breathing becomes the bridge. The breath is the bridge to this mind. The moment I have, and we haven't even discussed mind, by the way, mind is the most complex, beautiful, amazing flow of thoughts. It is not just in the brain. It is pretty much all across. Mind just fascinates me because in 1 minute you can be right into Switzerland. In 1 minute you can be straight to a place which you like always. So mind can take you absolutely in control, and you can just be all over the place, etc. So we're talking of mind and brain in the regards of the entire system of this limbic and the prefrontal cortex that we are talking. So this breath becomes this bridge. Now I became aware. I become start to recognize that this is my limbic firing. I start to recognize that I am angry. I start to recognize that this is the emotion that I'm feeling. If I feel the emotion inside me, then I suffer. So many years back, there was a beautiful another spiritual scientist that I met, and he said beautifully, he said, if you want to treat anxiety, if you want to treat depression, if you want to treat any of the mental illnesses that we are talking about, just put your mind on table. And a couple of minutes, I could not understand that what does he mean by putting the mind on table. Essentially what he meant was, let us create this distance. The mind is sad, you become sad. The mind is happy, you become happy, which means you are intertwined now to the mind's physiological responses. So our job to prescribe to a patient, or our job to understand, is to create this bridge. And it's not that easy a bridge. By the way, lots of things are happening when we are breathing in and breathing out. The pre-Botsi complex, which is right at the brainstem, there is this amazing, wonderful vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, which is supplying our parasympathetic system. So there are two systems operational in our body: parasympathetic, which is my basal tone, my breathing rate, my heart rate. It allows me to be stable. And the moment I have a threat, I can fight that threat. My sympathetic system comes in, my heart starts to raise, I start to have all the muscle, the power comes in, I'm ready now, my pupils dilate. That is my sympathetic system. Most people in today's time who fall into the stress and the burnout category have a high sympathetic resting tone and a very low parasympathetic tone. And that is that vagus nerve which is firing, which is not enough firing for these people. So what we see when we do anulom vilom or alternate nasal breathing or bhastrika or alternate fast breathing, or even for that matter, simple diaphragmatic breathing, even if you don't understand the entire hula of it, most people are now breathing only from the chest. If we start to breathe from the diaphragm, we give enough inhalation, we hold, and then we give enough exhalation, then we are kicking in this vagus nerve, and the connections are directly to the prefrontal cortex and to the amygdala. So all the triangle, I would say this is the golden triangle. If you understand this triangle and the modulation of this triangle, none of the mental illnesses would remain as they are. Yes, sometimes the patients are in panic, they can have severe anxiety, they can have severe major depression. You don't start breathing practices then. You have to get the chemical thing appearing. You have to take allopathic support. You need to calm them. You need to get them into a baseline. And then you start to give the practices. So I'm not saying that these are the practices which should form a part of the only therapy. It is a complementary thing. It is allowing the patient to shift from that threat brain, from that continuously overactive threat brain, to a little bit of a safer brain, and then to the drive brain. Because if you identify these people, when you talk to them, what are they saying? I cannot perform in life. I have doubts all the time. I'm always in low mood. I don't think so I can think straight. I keep procrastinating. I cannot engage in good, healthy emotions. I always feel secluded. So all these will be the emotions which are running from the threat brain. So slowly to make them into the motivational part of it can take time. And especially breathing techniques have to be learned over and over and over and over again. My favorite, most go-to technique is ocean breathing. And that's what I keep telling people, that I have a favorite acronym called MOVERS. So meditation, ocean breath, visualization, exercise, reading positive things and scribing negative things. If you do it every day, 20 to 25 minutes of your time, you keep yourself hygienically, both emotional hygiene, physical hygiene, mental hygiene, spiritual hygiene. You sort of take care of all the layers. I'm not just this physical self as I see. Yes, I have atoms, I have molecules, my protons, electrons, but I also have a field called electromagnetic field that I'm generating. And this electromagnetic field is well studied by the colleagues in energy science. So we are not experts in that, but energy science, the chakras, what we see around the energy, etc., are very important to evaluate as well. There are many ways in which we can evaluate. Functional medicine is coming up big way. In fact, you would be surprised to know in America, there is a new system of practitioners, which is going to be called as medical intuitivists. So they just look at you and then figure out, oh, this is the problem. Your liver can have a problem, kidney can have a problem, and then they refer. So this is not happening from the physical self. It is happening from the deeper layer of the self, of the electromagnetic field that we can generate. I had this wonderful Japanese professor visit me in the lab last week, and he looked at me and he says, oh my God, you have a very nice crown and all your energies are up here, but your body is struggling to match that energy. Your everything is all right, centered around intuition and crown chakra. And he said, do you feel tired? I said, yes, I do feel tired. Do you feel exhausted? I said, yes, end of the day, I'm exhausted because your body's chakras or the body's energy is trying to catch up. So they have a very unique way of understanding the energy science of it. I'm exploring. I'm a great learner. I love to experiment, and I'm very open to people who come to me and say, "Hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you see this? What is happening, etc." Now, chanting is also a very, very important thing. In the good old traditions, chanting used to be given by a guru. There used to be a mantra, etc. There's a lot of things which is in the chanting. I think one of my latest videos on neuroscience of chanting has close to around 300,000 views, just because, chanting is close to Indian ancient tradition. We have been doing it for last so many years, not just Indian Hindu tradition, but look at chanting, what happens in the mass of the churches, look at what happens in the Muslims, the prayers that happen. So all this has a deep influence in the brain. So what is happening in the brain? The emotional regulation is optimized. You feel united with the self that I was talking about. And then, of course, there are ample health benefits which are arising as well. Now, I had the fortune, when I was a very young kid or almost unborn, I would say I was in the womb of my mother, and my mom used to work in a laboratory, and there was an Arya Samaj laboratory. So she was working right from morning till evening. And there were some 1,000 people who would chant this Gayatri mantra every day. And then 9 months that sort of kept on happening. And I was a little delayed speaker. So around three and a half, when I started to speak properly, I was able to recite the entire Gayatri mantra. And so Gayatri mantra has been sort of part of me for many, many years. And till today, all the Anushtan, all the this of it for me is go to is like a Gayatri. But I'm sure people would have certain mantras which are very dear to you. And that's not just accidental, it's all also how you pick up a certain intonation, you pick up a certain resonance, because it is all very scientific. The way you're chanting, the way you're speaking, if you take up a certain languages of the words in English and put it in a tonoscope, you may not have a beautiful architecture or geometry which is produced. But if you take up certain words of Sanskrit, in fact, Om has been studied a few times on that tonoscope. You can create a beautiful geometrical architecture, which can be almost simulating to that of a Sri Yantra. You can practice it. I just got a tonoscope, and you can just keep on practicing, keep on doing the things with it. As I said, experiment to the experience, to evidence. This is the only way out. Now, this is my brain, and Gayatri Mantra over the time has been shown to have intellectual powers. It can grant you some cognition, abilities to learn faster. So, because I had this habit of doing it very regularly, I still do it 108 times every day. It's a part of my life. It's a part of my everyday's existence. So you do see a higher alpha to all the people. And we replicated this study in the people who were not doing it. We asked them to do 2 months of a regular practice. We came back with their baseline alpha and their alpha peak. And you will see between 8 and 12 is the normal alpha frequency. Anything under 10 is kind of not good. Anything over 12 is just amazing. So you do see these alpha peaks stemming up. Suddenly, in a person who had never practiced Gayatri, and over the couple of months, she did it very religiously, regularly, and she shifted from a 9 to a 12.5. I shifted to 13. And once this happens, it stays for good. So it's great for learning, it's great for overall cognition. The higher the alpha peak that you're able to produce more at the back of the brain, you still want slightly higher at the back of the brain. That is very good, or centrally. There are ways in which, the neurofeedback, what we call, which can also amplify alpha. So if you have a chance, and maybe we can do it one day as well at the lab, that you increase the alpha by a neurofeedback and you increase the alpha with a chant. What I feel is with the neurofeedback, you just got alpha, but with the chant, you got many other benefits. The health benefits of lowering the blood pressure, of kicking the vagus, of making your intonations and your breathing patterns in sync, etc. So everything has a scientific rigor and a meaning. This is the chemistry or the geography of the crystals. This is a very popular experiment, but those of you who have not been heard about this or not seen this, it is from Professor Emoto, where he takes a little water and then he speaks to the water. Anything in the first space is about love or good words, kindness, and in the second one it's all about, it's a fool, or it's a bad word, etc. Heavy metal music is played, and you do see the change in the geometric patterns. Now, if water as a crystal, or water as a property, has this beautiful thing of influence, imagine our bodies, or imagine our cells, protoplasm, how would it function, or how would it also have a deep influence? I know it's a little bit too stretching to think like that, but there is a sense in every little thing that happens as well. Now, let me show you a couple of studies to talk about Om chanting. Om is a universal sound. It is not a religious sound. A, U, and M, that is Aum, that is how it is spoken. It has a certain frequency. If it is played in a certain frequency, it has certain benefits. The resonance matters. In fact, in one of the yesterday's seminars, I was just telling them that try this, just say or a, see the vibration and feel that you get, versus om, or for that matter, one of the Bij mantras or the single sounds, monosyllables, such as lam. You just say la, 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 la. There is no effect on the mind. You need to be a little bit conscious. You need to be a little aware to see what is happening in the mind or your body. The moment you start to do lam, automatically there is that feeling which is happening. So there is a little bit of a science to everything what has been explored till date. So in this particular paper that you are seeing, what they did was they studied this QEEG, and post listening to the chanting of Om and post silent chanting of Om, both was studied. And what they found, activity in the attentional circuit, in the frontoparietal network, on this network here, and the default network mode. So there was an extended activity, as you are seeing. It was the highest when it was spoken. It was somewhat 50% when it was just passively listened, and it was the lowest when it was silently chanted. So I think the best moral of the story is we need to really chant it loud. We need to make sure that we are sitting straight, make sure that we are doing it regularly, consistently, to create these changes. Now, Om as a frequency has also been found to foster certain long-term plasticity changes. Now, when we say plasticity, which means what? We are trying to rewire. We are trying to readjust these neurons, the brain cells. I want my limbic system to be regulated. I don't want my mind to control me, but my mind is in my control. So all this can happen. My attention can improve, focus, memory, short-term memory, verbal memory, visual memory. All the rearrangement of the fibers can give me all these benefits.